Yeah, so what a surprise. The Chicago Police Department engaged in rampant abuses, according to the Department of Justice. What a surprise, right? Of course, being sarcastic, we've seen the, countless number of police brutality, social injustices in Chicago. It's been happening since the 60s. And I'll point out the parallels between what's happening now in the 60s based on the Kerner Commission report, aka the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, okay, which was headed by Otto Kerner at the time in the 1960s. So I'm going to break this down real quick and talk about this, family. Before I do, if you're new to the channel, once again, my name is Chauncey, aka the Black Separatist. On this channel, I talk about counter racism. I also talk about issues that affect Black people collectively as a group, and I offer my suggestions on how to replace this broken system of injustice, this broken system of racism, which is white supremacy, with a system of justice. So if you are new and you subscribe to that ideology, please subscribe to this channel. If you don't agree, subscribe anyway. I need my view counts up. I need my subscriptions up, because at the end of the day, if you're a troll or a hate watcher, you're just a statistic and a view count. Anyway, family. So headlines read, and I just found out about this morning. Chicago Police Department engaged in rampant abuses, and the investigation has been going on since after the fatal shooting of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. All right. This happened in October of 2014. And, history repeats itself. We know this. And this has been happening since the 60s, since the Kerner Commission report, which reflects the same exact thing that happened in the 60s until now. And I always talk about the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. In order for you to understand systematic oppression, racism, white supremacy in this country, go back to that document where they specifically talk about, in the summary, they talk about, the findings of the civil unrest between Blacks at that time in Illinois, in those states, all right, and others involved. The quote was, "We live in two societies, one Black, one white, separate and unequal." All right. And the cause for those issues was white racism. That was concluded in that document. All right. But this Department of Justice investigation, of course, is no surprise. We saw the fatal shooting of Laquan McDonald. We see the civil unrest amongst, African Americans in that particular area in Chicago. We see, how disenfranchised, subjugated, marginalized, and just abuse, lack of resources, lack of jobs, lack of education around impoverished areas in Chicago where African Americans live. We see that. And it's been happening since the 60s. All right. And let me give you an example of the abuse of Chicago. This story just came up also. This was about a Evanston police arrest video of man suspected of stealing car that was his own. This guy complied, still was arrested and taken down. All right, check out the video.
Police dash cam captures the arrest of an African-American man suspected of stealing a car in Evanston. It turns out the man was an engineering PhD candidate at Northwestern University, and the car was his own. Craig Wall joins us now live in Evanston with what prompted the police stop. Craig?
Jeff, this was a stop that happened in October 2015 right here in this church parking lot behind me. A woman who lives in Evanston reported to police that she saw what she thought was an African-American man breaking into a car. As it turns out, that man was working on his very own car. The woman calls 911 and then follows the vehicle, relaying information about its location to the police dispatcher. Officers then made the stop with their dash cams, capturing everything that happened.
Hi, somebody's trying to break into a car. I think the person just got into the car.
Okay, what does the car look like? And get me an address,
Read it off of a house.
Yes, okay, so I'm at Sherman. I'm 2 blocks south of Monroe.
As it turns out, Lawrence Crosby had his own dash camera video recording in his car. He became aware that someone was following him, and I'm told he was headed to the police station because of those suspicions when police pulled him over in the church parking lot. He gets out with his hands up and his cell phone in his hand and then gets taken down.
Look at it. Look at these race soldiers. Look at these white supremacist race soldiers. And they're punching him too. Wow, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Stop resisting. I love that. I love that quote. Stop resisting. Please comply. Look at those code words.
Brian Miller, who is himself running for mayor, says he was infuriated at what the video showed, particularly in light of the fact that he says there's been 5 incidents in the past 2 years where he says police have not de-escalated minor incidents. He pushed for the release of the video and says this case needs to be a wake-up call for the Evanston Police Department.
I understand being a police officer is a tough job, but we need them to exercise judgment in their day-to-day operations. And in this situation, within 10 seconds of Mr. Crosby getting out of the car with his hands in the air, he was tackled, he was kneed while he was standing up, and then he was punched repeatedly by multiple officers for allegedly stealing his own car. Our police officers need to be better than that.
Crosby was charged with resisting arrest and disobeying officers, but a judge...
Of course, right?
...those criminal charges against him. He is now suing the department for civil rights violations. The police department says that it found the use of force at the time was justified.
Justified, of course.
It has now changed its policy and will no longer require that subjects be taken down in this kind of situation. Jeff?
Oh, really? Yeah, stop resisting. Please comply. Listen, bro, I could be... hypothetically, I could be dead on the floor next to a car, right? And police officers would come by, investigate the situation. Stop resisting. Please comply, even though the person on the floor dead, not moving, and still shoot him. That's how abhorrent and that's how derelict these damn race soldiers' behaviors is, man. That's what they will do. They'll shoot a dead person not moving and say he's resisting. He's not complying, and still shoot the dead guy that's already dead. That's how stupid and abhorrent these damn police officers are. You know? So that's just one example of the many plethora of examples, you know, that goes along with Chicago and the state of Illinois and the just rambunctious, abhorrent behavior of what's happening there. You know, it's been happening since the 60s. We know this. We know this. All right. And another thing I wanted to point out, they did also an investigation in Baltimore, another reform, you know, after the killing of Freddie Gray, right? From the findings of Loretta Lynch. But there's a quote here that I want to say in parallel with the Kerner Commission report. All right. It says the report details alleged racial slurs that officers used against city residents. Black youth. Let's look at that key word, black youth. Black youth told us they are routinely called niggers, animals, or pieces of shit by CPD officers. A 19-year-old black male reported that CPD officers called him a monkey. Such statements were confirmed by CPD officers. One officer we interviewed told us that he personally has heard coworkers and supervisors refer to black individuals as monkeys, animals, savages, and pieces of shit. Now, let's do a parallel here. Here is the Kerner Commissioner report from 1960. It was published in 1968. All right, and the findings were conducted in 1967. Says here, I'm gonna read this paragraph here. They were drawing up a plan for meeting with merchants of the Avondale area when word came an altercation at a nearby drugstore. Several of the youths, keyword youths, left the meeting and rushed over to the store. Dr. Reed followed them The owner of the store was complaining to the police that earlier the youths had been interfering with his business. He declared he wasn't going to stand for it. Dr. Reed attempted to mediate when a police sergeant arrived and asked the officers what was going on. One alleged reply that they had been called because the young nigger punks were disrupting deliveries to the store. A dispute arose between Dr. Reed and the sergeant to whether the officer said nigger. After further discussion, the sergeant told the kids to break it up. Dr. Reed, together with some of the youngsters, returned to the Special Forces office. After talking to the youngsters again, Dr. Reed left to attend a meeting elsewhere. All right. So we've seen these so-called police officers' interaction with the dominant white society. We've seen the boogeyman effect from the dominant white society. Every time they encounter a Negro, an African American, there's always a spook factor. There's always something that the dominant white society's mind thinks that a black person is up to no good. Oh, he's stealing a car. They're about to steal something out of my store. Let me call the police. Let me call these race soldiers to see if they can help me kill or abuse this black person. Okay, so that's that boogeyman effect that's been happening since the 60s. We know this, we've seen this, and this is happening time and time again. All right, so that's the parallel between the Kerner Commission report and what's happening right now. And of course, the findings from the Kerner Commission report, aka the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, says that we live in two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal. And the findings of civil unrest between African Americans at that time and what's going on right now is because of white racism. All right. So, it is what it is, family. It is what it is. And until we replace this system, this broken system of injustice with a system of justice, we're always going to continue to have this kind of abhorrent behavior by our so-called police officers, these white supremacists who have invaded, law enforcement departments since the FBI released their document in 2006 by saying white supremacists have been getting hired by law enforcement agencies across the country. All right. So those are my thoughts, family. If you read the report, the full report of the Department of Justice investigation, let me know what you guys think of that in parallel to the Kerner Commissioner report or just what's going on in Chicago, period. Leave your thoughts down below, family. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, this is Chauncey, a.k.a. the Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.